I am going to talk about the GEOGloWS initiative. So the GEOGloWS leverage partnerships, resources, and data to deliver accessible hydrological predictions on a global scale, playing a vital role in addressing complex water resources and also developing capacities inside the partnerships, but also inside the communities. Several organizations are working within the project, including NASA, NOAA, ICIMWF, BYU, Aquaveo, ESRI, USAID, WMO, the World Bank, and now recently Amazon Web Services. And the NASA resources have been an important key in the development of the initiative. This initiative intends to connect people with global water information. And for that, they have developed a global hydrological model that uses the ICIMWF integrated forecast system, the high resolution medium range forecast, and the ensemble medium and extended range weather forecast to produce hydrological forecast, and the ERA5 reanalysis to produce a retrospective hydrological simulation. In addition, the GEOGloWS model uses the hydrology tile ICIMWF scheme for surface exchange over land to compute the land surface response to the atmospheric forcings and to produce operational ensemble forecast and retrospective simulation for surface and subsurface runoff. This special runoff needs to be distributed into the streams, and we will have different spatial and temporal resolutions for each one of the products that we use, the high resolution forecast, the ensemble 51 member ensemble forecast, and for the ERA5 reanalysis. So what we do is running a weighted area method to calculate the runoff inside of every one of the watersheds, and then we wrote the water using the Muskingum method with the rapid algorithm to calculate the discharge values in every single stream. Originally, GEOGloWS then will offer a historical simulation that is deterministic, that the version 1 has data from 1979 to present, more than 40 years of data. But the version 2 offers data starting in 1940 that is more than 84 years of data. And the forecast we have is stochastic or probabilistic. We have 52 ensemble predictions, 51 of low resolution and 1 of high resolution that has a 15 days horizon. And that product keep the same, but now in the version 1 of the model, we have around 1 million of streams that are comparable with the hydrosheds, watersheds, and we originally have 13 computational watershed groups. But now we increase the areas, the previous areas that didn't have any coverage, some areas are having, but also we increase the amount of streams to 1 million, from 1 million to 7 million. And because of the bigger amount of streams, we instead of having just 13 watershed groups, we now have 125 watershed groups. This model is accessible through the use of an API, where we can access the simulation results by building the correct URL and having the COM ID that is the stream identifier. But the version 2 will be accessible too. For now, the URL is slightly different, but we still have access to the model results by using the API. One of the most common questions that the people do when they see this model is how accurate is it? So we collected a big amount of data and evaluate the performance of the model by using the KGE metric, and we see that in general terms we can say that the model has a decent performance. However, we have problems in the Andes Mountains, the central part of the US, in Africa in general, and the east coast of Spain. Doing this evaluation, we noticed that generally the model reproduced the behavior of the observed data. However, the magnitude is off in some of the, most of the times. It overestimates or underestimates the values of the observed values. So we propose this bias correction method that is based on the simulated and observed flow duration curve. Then in the method, every single simulated value, we go to the flow duration curve and we can estimate the non-exceedance probability. With that non-exceedance probability, we can enter to the observed flow duration curve and calculate the discharge value that have the same non-exceedance probability that our simulated value, and replace the original simulated value by the observed value with the same non-exceedance probability. In that way, we will get a new simulation that has exactly the same shape that the original simulation, but that is in the same order of magnitude that the observed values. We apply that to every single simulated value in all of the Gaussian stations where we have data, and evaluate again the performance of the model, and we can see we have a really big improvement in all of the areas. We still have some issues that we can see in the central part of the United States, in the east coast of Spain, in Israel, but in most of the areas we have really, really big improvement, including the Andes and the east coast of Brazil, for example. Eventually, there are some places where the river does not have any discharge data, but they have water level data. Because how the method works, and with water level data, we will be able to build a water level duration curve, and the discharge value, observed discharge values come from a rating curve where originally water level values were measured. So we can extend the method, so we can still, for every single simulated value, enter into the simulated flow duration curve, calculating the non-exceedance probability. With that non-exceedance probability, enter to the water level duration curve and estimate the water level value that has the same non-exceedance probability, and replace that value, the original simulated value, by that value, by the water level value that has the same non-exceedance probability. And now we are having simulated water level time series that has the same shape that the original discharge, the simulated discharge value, and eventually it will be also in the same order of magnitude that the observed water level. We collected also a big amount of data of water level and evaluate the performance, and we see that the results are not as good as they were, but however, there are some areas where the results are really good. And the problem here is most related with data quality. There are mainly two problems. So when the water level values has a relative zero level that can change if the station is reinstalled. So when we have the station, occurs a flood, the station is gone, we put a new one. So eventually the relative zero for the station can change. And when we build the water level duration curve, that's really sensible to that, and the method doesn't work really well. Another problem that we find is that there are typo errors that can change or can produce really big spikes, or that will affect the water level duration curve shape, that avoid that the method works correctly. And also another problem that we can see here in the map is that the low, not the low coverage, the low availability of water level data. We don't have access to really big amount of water level data as we do for discharge. There is nothing like the global runoff data center that collects a lot of discharge data. There is nothing like that collecting the water level data. So the method was tested in less places that we tested for discharge, but still we can see that in the places where the data has, the quality of the data is good, the method works really good. Fortunately, we have the possibility of getting data through satellite information. In this case, we use the data of the HydroWeb project and apply the method and get better results than even the results we get for discharge. And this is because the water level data measured by satellite is absolute water level data. So that's expressed in meters above sea level, and it's not relative as we have for the ground station. And on the other hand, We don't have typo error because there is no like someone typing the values. This is calculated from a computer and stored in a database that avoid this type of errors. And now we have a bigger coverage, work coverage than the one that we have before with the ground-based stations. So yeah, here I was going to present the study cases in South America, but I want to give a space to Manish. So if you are interested in the GeoGloWS project, please sign up in the Google group. And I will share this with you in the chat. And any question, or if you are interested in sharing data with us in order to improve the results of the global model in your country, please contact me or contact you being here in the meeting too. And we will be happy to receive the data and to show how good the results are now for your country. Thank you so much.
Okay, good morning from Nepal. So I'm Manish Shrestha. I'm from ICIMOD, working here as a hydrologist for 5 years. And before joining ICIMOD, I was with the Stockholm Environmental Institute in Bangkok for I think three and a half years. So basically, my presentation revolves around the use of streamflow prediction tool, which is also the GeoGloWS in the HKH region. So for a few of us who do not know about ECMOD, so ECMOD is a intergovernmental organization who works at 8 different countries within the HKH region. And one of the initiative of ECMOD is the SERVIR HKH. And as you can see in the slides, the figure there are different hubs of SERVIR. And our hub is situated in the ECMOD headquarters here in Kathmandu. So the basic concept of Surveyor is to use this Earth observation and geospatial technologies to address different kinds of issues that we have in our region. So in Surveyor, we focus on 5 themes, as you can see up there. So agriculture and food security, ecosystem and carbon, water security, weather and climate resilience, which I'll be talking about, and then air quality and health. So under the Surveyor project, the basic idea is again, we work with the user to identify what are their needs and how can we solve them, and then we co-develop any kind of tools with them, and then provide them trainings, build their capacity to use that tool, and then finally the end goal is to provide them the whole tool so that the tool gets sustained by themselves. And as I was mentioning that we work in 8 countries. So here's the list, starting from Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal, China, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. Looking at the few statistics of natural disaster trend in HKH, we see that there has been a significant increase in number of disaster events if you compare the previous 20 years against from 1980 to 1999. Similarly, the number of casualties, a person getting injured, a person getting affected, and the economic damages are also increasing. And if you break down those disaster events, we see that flood accounts for nearly 45% of the total disaster in the HKH region, and more than half of the damage is also caused by the flood. So one way of managing flood is working on early warning system. There have been countless studies suggesting that early warning system is very much helpful to saving lives and properties. So every $1 invested in an early warning can benefit up to $6 of future losses. And in Nepal, if you look, if we have a very good flood early warning system, each household can save or have a benefit of 1,000 around 1,000 US dollar worth of future losses. In Europe, €1 around 450 euros of benefit can be seen, and there are other studies as well. So in EC mode, we have collaborated with USAID, NASA, and BYU University to develop a few of the early warning systems. And one of the example is the stream flow prediction tool. So this is the same GEOGloWS system that was mentioned earlier, which is customized to our region. It provides 10 days of lead time, meaning if you look into our tool, it provides information up to 10 days in advance, and is designed for larger rivers, which covers all the HKH region. We have modified the tool so that, again, based on the user demand, we have provided a search button, provided a river network name, location of hydrological stations, so that it's easier for the user to use the tool. Then further, we have again subdivided the work into three different, or developed the tool again, interface into three different parts, focusing on Nepal, Bangladesh, and Bhutan. So there are few case studies where our tools has been currently used by the government. Uh, the first one is the NDRRMA, that's the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority of Nepal. So they are under the Ministry of Home Affairs, and they have a centralized database system for disaster, which is called BPAT portal. And this BPAT portal houses all the information related to disaster, early warning in one platform. So our streamflow prediction tool is also integrated into their system. The second example is from Bangladesh, where the Flood Forecasting and Warning Center, we've partnered with them, and we are currently providing them inflow to the northeast part of Bangladesh here. And this region is highly vulnerable to floods during the pre-monsoon period. The upstream part of this Bangladesh is one of the heaviest rainfall areas called Cherrapunji, where all the rainfall occurs. The flood occurs in this region, but the impact is seen on the flat areas of Bangladesh. So FFWC has their own model, mic model, but as an input, as a boundary condition input for their model, we have provided them information from our streamflow prediction tool at 17 location on these part, where the information from the Indian side is a bit lacking from them. And then also we have helped them in developing a mobile app so that these information about the incoming flood can be provided to each individual who has a mobile phone and an internet connection. And in addition to working with national government, we also work with local partners. For example, in Nepal, we work with the DRR focal person for different municipalities in the western part of Nepal. We had provided him several trainings on how do we use this and interpret the result. We also partner with INGOs and NGOs. Here are some of the examples mentioned. We also work with responders, the armed police force of Nepal, who are the first responder whenever any kind of disaster occurs in Nepal. Red Cross, we all know. Then we also work with partners such as Start Network, Red Cross, who are currently working on anticipatory action and early warning. And we also work with academia such as universities and schools. Uh, One key component, as I mentioned earlier about this project, is user engagement. So we have organized 167 trainings between 2015 and 2023. And in 2023 alone, we have provided 10 trainings to different organizations. We have provided trainings to more than 5,000 individuals in the same time. We have a women-centric training focusing on women who are interested in working on GIT, especially the youth. This is an annual training, and then also we have requested the end users, for example, the DRR focal person, the Red Cross volunteers, to see our tool and then verify by themselves. So this will not only increase their confidence on using the tool, how to interpret, but also adopting the tool for the future use. And During any of those trainings and workshops, we try to get user feedback so that those feedbacks, those comments, the suggestion can be incorporated in our tools. Again, validation, there's a lot of question, does our tool actually work? So here are a few of the screenshot from our paper that we published, showing that our tool was able to forecast with good amount of accuracy in Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we also request the end user to validate themselves. So we have provided them with a very easy logbook just to write enter like, has there been any flood in those areas, and has our tool actually shown that there would be any kind of floods. So fortunately, in Nepal last year there was no floods, but unfortunately for us, we could not validate our tool. But still, it's a good situation for all of us. So some of the key points for our success is we try to continuously engage with the end users and the stakeholders, and we try to align our work with the stakeholders' needs, their strategies, and work plan. And then, as I shown you an example from FFWC, we are able to fill up the gaps of data availability using the satellite data and remote sense data. Our work is backed by both technical and social science. The tools that we develop are very user friendly, freely accessible. You don't need to register. You just go to the website and you just start using it. Just 5 minutes of your time, and then you will know everything of how to use that tool. The consortium capacity is also good, I would say. We have teams from NASA, we have AST, that's the university from US, BYU. For this particular example, we have government agencies, NGOs, and INGOs working together. So these are a few of the points that I would like to highlight for the key of our success. And this is my last slide. And thank you very much for your attention.